Welcome back to Kill Rock Radio. My name is Rocky, back up in this motherfucker. And once again, for the second episode in a row, I had a plan, and then the plan is just totally ripped apart by tragedy. As Brent Hinds, founding member of Mastodon, has died tragically in a motorcycle accident in Atlanta, Georgia.
Fans are reminiscing about the Atlanta musician who changed their lives. Brent Hinds, the co-founder of Mastodon, died Wednesday in a crash here in Atlanta.
Hinds was tragically killed on Wednesday night in a motorcycle crash at Memorial Drive and Boulevard. Police say the SUV driver failed to yield while making a turn. The driver did stay on scene to talk with police.
Most everybody I know in the music industry knows him, so it was just a huge loss, not only as a person, but as a guitar player.
The 51-year-old co-founded the popular heavy metal band Mastodon in 2000.
I think it's going to be felt for a long time. I don't think there's a rock band or a metal band in the whole Southeast that's not influenced by Mastodon and Brent's guitar.
And this tragedy happens at a time where it seems like Brent's personal life and professional life were just in complete upheaval. But, you know, we'll talk about the professional element of it here in a sec. Brent Hinds was born in Alabama. He learned how to play the banjo first. And he took that banjo picking style and he applied it to heavy metal guitar. And part of that is what made the sound so interesting. Mastodon has been one of the biggest and most consistently awesome heavy metal bands of the last 20 years. And without having any radio hits, like there are no Mastodon hit songs. And still these guys grew to the point that, you know, they're opening for the biggest bands in metal and they themselves are able to sell out pretty large venues. So all in all, very successful. The guys in the band will admit they were hardcore metal dudes. And Brent was he was the guy that was into all kinds of different shit, and he brought those influences to the band. And you see it within the band. It's not like some underlying thing. That shit is front and center. It's just so much. It's so many questions left unanswered. But, you know, I'm a fan, so like those are the things you think about, the music elements, but you know, fuck all that. At the end of the day, it's a tragic, tragic situation. Brent Hinds, what a fantastic artist, fantastic guitarist. His work has been massively influential and will continue to be influential. When you look at a guy and you try to compare him to somebody and you say, oh, he plays like this person or he plays like that person, Brent Hinds was in a class of his own. There was nobody that really played that exact same style as him. So how could you ever replace him from a musical standpoint? And he was such a fucking crazy ass human being. How could you replace him from like a humanity standpoint? As the great Hunter S. Thompson said, he was some sort of high-powered mutant, not even considered for mass production. Brent was a guy who had a long, successful career in heavy metal and would tell anyone that would listen that he hated heavy metal and he wanted nothing to do with being in a heavy metal band. He felt that the genre, there just wasn't a ton of creativity and that he had done a lot to inject creativity into what Mastodon does. And if it was left just up to the other band members, that it would be kind of boring cookie cutter heavy metal because they were such big metal fans. In fact, I have the quote here. This is Brent Hinds talking about not wanting to be in a heavy metal band. He says, and I quote, "I never really liked heavy metal in the first place. I come from Alabama playing country music, surf rock, rockabilly, and stuff like that. I just went through a phase in my 20s where I thought it was rebellious to play heavy metal, and then I met Bran and Bill, and they were really, really, really into heavy metal. And ever since then, I've been trying to get Mastodon to not be such a heavy metal band because I fucking hate heavy metal, and I don't want to be in a heavy metal band." That was the type of dude Brent was. He said whatever the fuck he was thinking, and sometimes that shit would get him into trouble. Many said he had a drinking problem, and a lot of the problems he had in life did seem to come from drunken shit that happened. One of those times, I believe it was after the MTV Awards or some shit like that, he was super drunk and he was like jumping on motherfuckers, and some rapper that was there with one of the members of System of a Down, I believe it was Shavo, the bassist, he just knocked Brent Hinds the fuck out, and Brent Hinds fell and slammed his head on the ground, went into a coma. A lot of that experience is what led to the Mastodon album Crack the Sky. And I know Shavo had said, in fact, I have a quote here from Shavo. Shavo Dajian of System of a Down, he says, and I quote, "What happened was we were in Las Vegas outside Mandalay Bay after the MTV Music Awards, and I was with my friend Reverend William Burke, who's a rapper." Continuing, he says, Brent Hinds comes out of a taxi and he's like, "Bro, I love you." He was inebriated and swinging his shirt. He kept coming up to hug me. He was very in my face. And then from there, this dude, Reverend William Burke, knocks Brent Hinds the fuck out. And one thing you got to consider when you look at a story like that, I mean, there's brain damage there. I don't feel like I'm out of line if I say that Brent Hinds sustained pretty significant brain damage. Here, let me see. Hold up. I have a list of everything that was fucked up. Hinds suffered a broken nose, 2 black eyes, and brain hemorrhaging after he was knocked out in his drunken haze. After that, a lot of people say he was never really the same from there. And that would make sense, because if you look at it scientifically, there's been reports written and shit like that. People with brain injuries, oftentimes it affects your behavior. They ended up firing Brent back in March of 2025. And it's just sort of been, like I said, a lot of upheaval since then. In the months since Brent Hinds was fired, Mastodon had said nothing but good stuff about him. I have a quote here from Bill Kelleher, who's the other guitar player for Mastodon. He says, and I quote, "We achieved a lot of things that I never in a million years would have imagined. There's been Grammys, touring with our heroes like Iron Maiden, Metallica, Motorhead, and Tool. I cherish all of that. Like a marriage, sometimes people grow apart and they get interested in other things. We wish nothing but the best for Brent in chasing his dreams." You can really gather from that last line, Brent wanted to do some other shit, so they cut him loose so he could go do something else. After months of silence, Brent Hinds made a comment on, I believe it was a Mastodon video, the one for Halloween. And somebody had commented something along the lines of, hey, we'll miss Hinds in the band or whatever. Brent Hinds put a comment on there that says, and I quote, "I won't miss being in a shit band with horrible humans." The shit he said, I mean, he was clearly butthurt. And that only happens when you're dealing with legit ass feelings. He was all in his feelings. That was the reaction. I'm sure at this point, all the dudes in Mastodon would gladly love to be back in the world where Brent is just some dude talking shit about him as opposed to being gone. The members of Mastodon did release a joint statement saying, "We are in a state of unfathomable sadness and grief. Last night, Brent Hinds passed away as a result of a tragic accident. We are heartbroken, shocked, and still trying to process the loss of this creative force with whom we've shared so many triumphs, milestones, and the creation of music that has touched the hearts of so many. Our hearts are with Brent's family, friends, and fans. At this time, we please ask that you respect everyone's privacy during this difficult time. R.I.P. Brent." It's really going to be interesting to see how things are going forward, because on some level, you almost felt like this was a situation where, like, these guys are going to get back together at some point. You know, Brent, he could be a pain in the ass. Maybe that's why they never responded harshly when he would talk shit. But I guess we'll never get that opportunity. We'll never know. And now Mastodon is going to have to look forward and look at bringing someone onto the band who's going to be able to fill those shoes, which is going to be incredibly difficult because many people felt like Brent Hinds was the secret sauce of what made Mastodon different from all the other heavy metal bands. The best way you can pay tribute to Brent is by blasting that Mastodon shit as loud as it would go, because even though Brent would talk shit about, oh, I hate this, I hate that, I mean, fuck it, it's all out the window now. Now we just have to remember the man that was and appreciate that. R.I.P. Thank you so much. Condolences to his family, condolences to the band members. Anyways, so moving on. We've come to the part of the show where I reply to your comments. Go ahead and get up in our DMs on any of our social media channels. You can see them up at the top of the screen. Or you could just comment on any of the videos. I will get back to as many of you as I can. We had a really interesting situation. One of those times where you just make one little observation and it sets off a series of dominoes that reveal a greater truth. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
If you missed the last episode, I went to a show, took my niece to a show to see a band called The Warning. Before that, I had never seen these women. I had never heard them. I just knew that they were a rock band. One thing I noticed up front in the mosh pit area, it was standing room only. These were not seats. These were not purchased assigned seats. Pressed up as close as they could get to the band were all these like elderly motherfuckers. I assumed that they were simps, because why else were they so close other than maybe wanting to get a close look at the girls? I just was commenting that it was weird. I get all these people, oh, I've been going to shows all this time. Then you should fucking know that it's not normal to have the mosh pit all clogged up with elderly motherfuckers. I was simply commenting on that. And the level of insecurity that was revealed on behalf of The Warning's American fan base was so endlessly fascinating to me. Maybe I'm profiling those guys. That's true. Maybe I'm judging those guys. That's true. And if you think I'm a dumbass idiot or whatever, you could have just let it go. But instead, I had this gigantic reaction of old motherfuckers telling me what those guys were thinking. Oh, those guys, I assure you there was nothing going on. How in the fuck could you assure me of another man's intentions?
You fucking income fucking poop.
Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. I wanted to read some of your comments, and once again, maybe we could smooth this over.
Fuck that!
This really disrupted the hive mind so much so I got a link that somebody made a video just totally shitting all over me. Even in the thumbnail, it was like, idiot thing. What was it? Here, hold on. I got to pull it up. I took a screen cap of it. Idiot trashes The Warning fans. I did not watch it. I thought it was interesting that my video was 12 minutes and this video is 2 fucking hours of shitting on me. So I can't listen to that shit. It would do nothing but pollute my own mind. I'm not interested in being the type of motherfucker who's like, well, all these people say this, it must be true, and you're a dumbass for saying anything else. I don't feel that way.
You and me are the only cool people here. Everybody here is just a bunch of shitheads.
I have my own thoughts, and I don't give a fuck what a bunch of elderly motherfuckers assure me of. I saw some simping up front. Nothing wrong with it. However, the Warning fan base, they just took it really hard. And once again, what does that reveal? Does that reveal some sort of underlying guilt for how they feel? Listen, jack off to the girls if you want. Have complex fantasies about the women. It doesn't affect your fandom. I really do feel like Satan. I really do feel like I am like a Pied Piper leading these guys to negative, impure thoughts. However, I am just telling you, though it may be creepy for a guy in his 70s to spank his monkey to a chick that's like, 25 or whatever. But it happens because that's just biology. And it's probably more healthy just to jack it out than to act on anything. So boom, I'm setting you motherfuckers free. No need to thank me.
Thanks, girl.
I'm not thrown off by the volume of negative response because righteous men stand alone most of the time. That's me.
You are just the mother of all whores. Aww.
So I'm just going to read some of the comments here. Starting off, my homeboy Ricky Jones says, basically, it's you projecting all of your sexual fantasies. It's your way of coming out of your sexual closet. You use the word young a lot. The one who is doing all the pointing is usually the creep. For your mental health and well-being, you need to get laid, millennial. That will help with all this animosity you have for thirsty old men. Bet you're not man enough to say it to the old men's faces, but like a true millennial, you hide behind your keyboard. Get some help. You paid money, took the time to go to the concert to observe without any proof, just your opinion about old men's reactions to the warning, then made sexual slander in a YouTube reaction and then said you're not accusing anyone? Dude, you need a life or help or both. Thank you, Ricky. Not man enough to say it to the old men's faces. As I was just saying, this is not a confrontational situation. I didn't feel the need to confront anyone. I wasn't scared that these elderly men were going to run up on stage and have some sort of gang R situation. I'm pretty positive that the women of the morning could probably kick the shit out of any of those old men. So I didn't feel there was any need to confront anyone about it. If I went again and I saw it again, I still wouldn't say shit. I don't think it's anything that anyone needs to be confronted about other than the fact that you're highly selfish because the pit is for the kids to jump around and have fun. And they kind of can't jump around and have fun because your stupid old ass is just standing there not doing anything. Imagine a bouncy house. You go to a kid's birthday party, there's a bouncy house, and you see all these kids standing off to the side well, there's adults in there. Aren't those adults assholes, don't you think? So, I'm just saying, there's that element of it too. And I have a lot of people saying it's projection. I don't have any hang-ups about saying that these are attractive women. Once again, the fan base has a collective hang-up. I understand maybe you've been following since they were kids, and you kind of still see them that way. Newsflash, the kids grew up. They're fucking hot chicks now. I don't have a problem saying that. And how will getting laid relieve my animosity to thirsty old men? Are you saying I should bang an old man?
I'm not gay no more. I am delivered.
My homie Groundhog6 says, thanks a lot, dude. Now you're making me feel guilty for liking this band. And God forbid if I ever go to see them because everyone will think I am a pervert. Is it okay if I like Seether and the Foo Fighters too? So because they are females, that is why I like them? It has nothing to do with them being talented singers, musicians, songwriters, and performers. There are plenty of beautiful singers and female bands, but I don't like their music. Stop judging us because of our age and gender. This is a good example of some of the many insecurities that were unearthed by my comments. A lot of you seem to think that if you're acknowledging that they're hot, they can't be great artists, why can't they be both? Throughout the history of rock music, there have been both men and women who have been super attractive, but at the same time were also incredibly talented artists. And I would imagine that their fan base wanted to fuck them.
I was just sitting in my office back there thinking about tongue kissing you all night long.
Look at footage from the 70s of Led Zeppelin shows. Who was up front? It was all chicks with their eyes this fucking big, looking at Robert Plant's juicy dong running down his leg, just wishing they could get 5 minutes alone with that gorgeous, tasty gift.
I'd like to take you home and snack on you tonight.
But it doesn't mean that Robert Plant wasn't an amazing singer, writer, performer, all that shit. And it doesn't mean that that girl, just because she wants to bang Robert Plant, it doesn't mean that she's only a fan because she wants to fuck Robert Plant. Those things can all exist at the same time. I mean, look at Hart. Are we going to say that nobody was checking out the Wilson sisters and like, oh man, I'd love to, you know what I'm saying? You'll flash forward to the 90s and who was up front at the No Doubt shows? There were dudes. Why? They were simping. They wanted to look at Gwen Stefani. Go to a Jewel show in the 90s. You don't have to feel any type of way. Next, my homeboy Niche P1 says, dude, project much? As one of those 70-plus old guys who's a longtime patron, I follow them because of their music, their story, and their lifestyle. They aren't sluts on or off stage, which you probably like. They don't drink or do drugs, do you? They are conservative. You obviously are not, and they are immensely talented. I'm a retired professional musician and television producer, and I know talent. I also know when someone who spouts BS just to get clicks. Get over yourself. So this is a perfect example of the type of ownership that a lot of the fan base in America feels they have over these women. What kind of normal fan experience involves giving a fuck about whether they're sluts on stage or off? What does that mean? They're not staging public fuckfests? I mean, if you're saying they don't look hot on stage, they do. I thought they looked real hot on stage. Or if they drink or do drugs. And do I? Of course I do, stupid. I'm awesome.
Talk it out, man.
And they are conservative. Can a kid that's in their early 20s even really have a hardcore ideology one way or another? That changes over the course of your life. If you can rub some fucking brain cells together and form your own opinion, a lot of these people, they don't have that ability. They're fucking dumb.
The American dream really is.
And they just have to roll with everything that everybody else does. I apologize. You clearly, we don't understand each other. As long as you don't advance on those women without their consent and shit like that, there is not a goddamn thing wrong with looking at a woman, thinking she's hot, admiring that. And that doesn't mean you can't admire her talent. You can't admire her art. You can do it all, big dog. Don't limit yourself. Why is everybody like in this box? I'm trying to break you out, motherfucker. Let's go.
To me, you seem like a dude who knows what's up.
Next, we have my homegirl, Callie Z, who says their fan base here in Mexico are mostly young people. I am a proud fan of The Warning, and I'm a straight woman in my late 20s, so I recognize and appreciate their talent and dedication. And as a musician myself, I can confirm that they do make top quality hard rock music. I've been to some of their concerts here in Mexico, and the audience is really young and diverse. You can see teens and young adults headbanging, singing along to every song and having a blast. So it's clear they're all here for music and atmosphere. But I do find it a bit unsettling that in the US and Europe, most of their fans are old, creepy dudes. Some of them give me really weird vibes. I've seen several disgusting/inappropriate comments on some of their Facebook groups, all coming from men in their 50s and 60s, and I find it really weird that most of these dudes follow them since they were kids. I mean, it's not common for grown-ass men to be die-hard fans of a band consisting of 3 little girls. And that's, of course, referring to when they were kids. There's even a recent incident of a psycho within the fan base who has a sick obsession with Ale, and he threatened to bring a gun to one of their concerts. He also chatted privately with young girls, members of the fan base as well, and asked them for inappropriate stuff, nudes and all that. And if they refused, he would threaten to unalive himself and bring a gun to the concert. So yeah, I ain't saying that all of these men are creeps or psychos. Surely there are many who are respectful and normal human beings who are just enjoying music and having a good time. But I would say the other half of these old dudes aren't just here for the music as they claim to be. There is really something else going on, and we all know what it is. Thank you very much, Callie, for your comment and for your candor. What's been most fascinating to me is the inability to even acknowledge that it's a thing. You can't confront anything if you can't even acknowledge that it's there. And several people had mentioned to me this thing about the one psycho who was like trying to be inappropriate with some of the young fan base. And sort of that's what I'm talking about. When I got the tickets and I was showing up there, I was pretty much expecting to see nothing but like kids and those kids' parents and then younger people who were fans of the band. And for the most part, that's what the fan base was. If you took your daughter, your granddaughter, in my case, my niece, all that shit, you're not who I'm referring to. It's music that you can bond with a young family member over. That's not a common thing. So I can understand how that's special and you would want to honor that. So I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about all the single old motherfuckers who were all squished up front gawking at the women. And so it made me feel so bad for these women. You come out night after night and you're just looking at this fucking gray mass of nothingness. You can't even see the crowd. Back behind them, there's color and there's dancing. But all these poor women, see, they're coming out. Maybe that's why the show's so good, because they're rocking so goddamn hard just to get any reaction out of these gray lumps. Next, my homie Nope4242 says there are certainly a lot of creepers who love this band. They're young and attractive, and one of the ways they pay their bills is through the parasocial relationship they built with the fan base at the start. That being said, one day you might be 50 years old and want to go to a concert. It's weird how the only way you determine if someone is a creeper or not is if they were wearing the right type of shirt. That's not at all what I was saying. It's not about the right type of shirt. When you go to a concert, most people, and tell me if I'm wrong, if you're going to a concert, you have two thoughts. One, either you want to like look cool, or you know you're going to be up in the pit, so you put on like some shit where you're going to be comfortable and still kind of look cool up in the pit. These dudes look like they just fucking came from the grocery store. It was just really, really old, out of place motherfuckers. It wasn't about the type of shirt they had. And thank you for acknowledging that there are creeps. That's all I'm saying. I mean, we essentially agree with each other. That's one thing I also want to get out there. We all essentially agree with each other. Let's be friends.
You're gonna die, you dainty little fuck.
Next, my homie James370 says, you, sir, are the epitome of misogyny. You are the one so focused on the fact that they are attractive young ladies. They are first and foremost phenomenal musicians. Once again, can they not be both? I think they're both. I think more of them than you do, obviously. Next, my homie Jeremy Castro says, I mean, I kind of understand where you're coming from. I had a similar confusion when I went to see them live in Orlando, and like 1/3 of the audience was like 40 to 60-year-old men. But the weird thing for me wasn't that. It was that none of them moved. Like, you know, the diehard fans were bobbing and singing along, myself included, headbanging to songs like Evolve, but these guys were just statues, just staring motionless for the whole 90-minute set, just sipping on their beers. I even noticed some near give me the side eye. But I never thought they were creeps. I just thought, oh well, this is my first time at the House of Blues. Maybe they are just locals who don't really know them and came to see what's up. And what bothered me the most is I felt like the energy in the room was down because of it. What I noticed recently was a lot of comments on reaction videos to their songs, stating their age, saying they saw them live and calling them gorgeous or hot, and what I can only be described as boomer Facebook profile pictures. And that kind of felt creepy to me. Felt like I was in an IG model's comment section. I'm not accusing these people of anything, just stating things I noticed. It can all be explained as old Metallica fans who like them and don't have internet literacy. I mean, if I could communicate as well as my boy Jeremy, maybe we wouldn't have had this problem. This is exactly what I was saying. You notice it because these guys aren't there like, oh man, I'm a fucking fan of the band. They just fucking stand there. They get as close to the band as they are physically allowed to get, and they just fucking stand there and stare at them. So if you saw that, if you're somebody who goes to shows and you know that's not normal, if you see that, what would you think? Would you not think that those guys are there to get a look at the chicks? That's what I thought. Here's yet another person who agrees with me. Thank you very much, Jeremy. My homie Stephen E. says, why do you have to make things weird? It's really sexist to assume that male fans are only there because they are simping. It implies that these women don't actually have any talent and are only good for eye candy or to inspire little girls. This thinking is why women have had such a hard time making it in the rock scene. I mean, are we not talking a little bit about a double standard here? I've mentioned several instances of male, rock heroes who had legions of women who were huge fans of the band, and they also wanted to bang the dudes in the band. And maybe if you were open and not so repressed, you wouldn't feel this weird need to get so close to the girls. Maybe you could lay back, let the kids have the pit to themselves, let them enjoy themselves. If you want to jack off, look at the pictures online, If in this moment, just hang out and enjoy the music. It's going to give more energy to the band on stage, and the show's going to be even better, I bet you. But mainly back the fuck off. Next, my homie Bicho Maldito says, I think you have a point. When someone meets the warning for the first time at a show or social media, one thing stands out immediately. Their fandom is quite unusual. There are some really old fellows on one side and young LGBTQ people on the other. It's kind of shocking how those two worlds met and share the same taste in music. My guess is that older guys are into the warning because of memories and traditional values. But also, yes, they're definitely in love with the sisters. However, this old fans thing seems to be predominant in the US and parts of Europe. Over here in Latin America, their fan base is quite younger, and you find men ranging from 20 to 30 at their shows. But still, I find it funny that the warning being good-looking girls don't have enough 20-year-old straight guys filling their gigs and chasing them. Instead, there are granddads, children, and LGBTQs. Not hating, just saying. Is this a fan base issue or just a band that hasn't found their niche yet? Their identity? I would love to hear a good rational explanation on this. I can tell you, I do think that as the warning grows, eventually they will outgrow the Patreon group who feel like the band owes them something, or that they own the band, and that they have any sort of right to even give a fuck about how the band members choose to live their lives. These women, they could become communist porno stars tomorrow. It would not change anything about their talent. If they're so talented and they're changing the world and all this shit that I'm seeing from the fan base, why does what they do off stage matter? Why does, you know what I'm saying? Like, why? Also, another thing that I did notice in all the replies, there also seems to be a real divide because a lot of lesbians are really into the chicks. They like them like they like them. They are not repressed. They admit they like them. The old fan base, they don't like the LGBTQ element, and they say they're gross for wanting to hook up with the warning and stuff like that. But I feel like if the old guys could just sort of acknowledge that, man, they are hot chicks, maybe you guys could all be friends. I think the lesbians would love to be friends with you guys, and y'all could jump around. These lesbians could bring light back to your life. At very least, just stripping all the opinion about what those guys up front were about and all that shit, it really is one of the most interesting fan bases in all of rock. I will absolutely say that. Finally, we're going to wrap up with my homie Kelsey, who says, as a part of the warning fan base, I unfortunately very often encounter sexualizing and delulu comments addressed to girls. I understand that there are creeps in any fan base, but the amount of such comments and statements from elderly idiots in the warning fandom is truly frightening. It is especially scary when such old men publicly get upset and offended by the fact that they were not allowed to touch girls at meet and greet and that they were not communicated with in the way they wanted. Just understand, even if you are an old man who is a fan of the warning and you do not sexualize these girls, this does not change the fact that there are too many such idiots. And I also believe that those who began to attack the author of the video with their angry comments are simply trying to justify themselves and divert suspicion from themselves. Because if you are not like that, then you understand that this does not apply to you. It's like men who start making excuses when women talk about sexual violence and harassment from men. Of course not all men are like that, but they are always men. And not all old male fans of The Warning are creepy, but all creepy fans of The Warning are old men. I don't blame those men who really just enjoy their music. But the fact is that there are a lot of creepy old assholes, and I would like the girls from The Warning to feel safe. So this is upsetting. I hope that in my country where The Warning is not so popular, a fan base will gather from the vast majority of teenage girls like me. Thank you for voicing this topic in your videos. This needs to be talked about and such idiots exposed. Thank you. And thank you to, I think there were literally 3 motherfuckers who had the decency to thank me for bringing this up. You are welcome, dude. If you don't have gross ass thoughts about young underage girls, there's nothing wrong with saying that The Warning are hot chicks. You should also really pick your spots, because if you just put it in the general groups and shit like that, there are kids there, dude. Just like at the show, try not to be such a selfish prick and acknowledge that there are kids around, and just be fucking decent. If you have some of your old homies and you guys get together and you love talking about The Warning in the privacy of your basement or wherever the fuck, you'd be like, man, dude, did you see so-and-so? Oof, man, I would love to bend that motherfucker over. You could have those conversations amongst each other. It's not appropriate on in these groups. So fucking stop doing it. And that thing she mentioned about the meet and greets, I'm so glad you mentioned that. This happens now, because in today's world, it's very hard to make money as a band. One of the ways that bands make a lot of money is they sell these VIP packages, these meet and greet packages, where you pay extra money to get a chance to take a picture with the band and shit like that. Like, you run into this issue a lot at like Comic-Cons, or, wrestling conventions and shit like that. There are these guys that become obsessed with the women. Let's say, it's, a chick from Star Trek or one of these female wrestlers. The guys want to get up there and take a picture and have their arm around them and, hand on the hip and all that shit. And it's not appropriate. So we've come to the point where you almost got to have these guys stand 4 fucking feet away in order to not creep the chicks out. And if the guys are complaining, well, I can't even get close to the girls to take a picture. What the fuck, weirdo? What were you expecting? That you were going to get a chance to grab on their ass or something? I mean, holy shit. There is some high-level delusion going on here. Warning fans, please clean it up. If you see shit, say shit. If any guy is asking you for nudes and you don't even know this guy and he's like, oh, I'm gonna fucking unalive myself. Fuck you! Well, unalive away, motherfucker. See, look at that. Just like Wu-Tang, Kill Rock Radio is for the kids. Anybody that's asking you for nudes, you get at least a dick pic first. Dick pic with face. You raise the stakes on them. Dick pic with face. And then you'll see who's legit. Now they got excuses. Those of you who felt I was attacking you just for your age, I apologize. That was not my intention. I was just talking about these guys. Their oldness was just the main thing I noticed about them. I don't know these dudes otherwise. All I noticed is those are really old, out-of-place motherfuckers up front. What the fuck are they doing here? Where are the kids? Are there any police? So, that's it. Beef squashed. And like I said, any comments, any questions, anything like that, just get at us on our socials. So before we go, I do want to go ahead and make reference to our website, killrockradio.co.co. killrockradio.co. You go there, you can buy some merch that directly helps fund the show, helps keep us in reddish light bulbs and fucking cameras and internet connection and all that shit. You can go right now to killrockradio.co. Get yourself a nice little koozie for your cans, whether you're having a beer or one of these THC beverages. Keep your fingers nice and warm and dry while you're getting crunk. Also, you can get a sticker illustrated by me. Get it, stick it anywhere. Put it on your computer, put it on your guitar, put it on your ass. I don't care. As long as you buy the thing, 100% of the proceeds goes back into the show. Thank you guys so much. And until next time, I will talk to you crazy motherfuckers later.
Got any questions or comments? Send them to info@killrockradio.com. To keep up with the latest and catch up on past interviews and clips, search Kill Rock Radio on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to Kill Rock Radio wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm like, oh my God, just listen to it already. Wherever you listen to podcasts.